Good day, everyone, and welcome to another exciting, information-packed and factful podcast on Prince Edward Island real estate and everything PEI. I'm Michael. I have with me Patty.
Hi, Michael.
Hello, Patty. Thanks for coming along. It was your idea to create this episode or this topic. Today, we're going to be talking about moving to PEI, relocating to PEI, where you get your services from and what you should expect in the form of, say, heating, internet, cell phone, electricity, healthcare, what else? Insurance. We'll basically cover where you should look for these things when you move here. Because just like if I was to move to, say, Mexico City, I would have no idea where I was going to find these things. Starting with heating, which is usually one of the most important things when you're buying a house in PEI, you're going to find that the vast majority, probably close to 100% of the houses in PEI, utilize an oil-fired boiler system. So you've got a boiler system, which some people would call a furnace, heats up water. The water supplies radiators or maybe in-floor heating and other devices that consume that hot water, return it back to the boiler to be heated up again. That is typically what you're seeing here. You're not going to see a lot of forced air furnaces that are natural gas in PEI because we don't need a humidifier, dehumidifier as you would in Ontario where the air can be really dry or very humid. The island climate is about as perfect as you're going to find, short of maybe Hawaii, in our opinion. Would you say that?
Yes.
We do not have natural gas here except for commercial purposes where it's trucked in, so you're not going to be able to hook up a natural gas meter to your house. If you do want to use gas, you can use propane, and there's a multitude of suppliers, the Irving, Superior, Kenmac, and there's probably another half dozen smaller ones that cater to smaller, more local or particular community markets. Other sources might be an on-demand electric hot water boiler, or maybe you've got electric radiators. Caution with these is they can get really expensive really fast. Other sources, how else would you heat your house? Geothermal, which you're probably hardly ever going to see because it's expensive. Solar, which is going to not really work great here because we're not in a tropical climate like Mexico City.
Yeah, I think those are our typical heat sources and systems.
Right, and then you'd have backup systems, which are always a good idea, which might consist of propane-fired fireplaces, or in some cases, wood stoves and wood fireplaces. Caution being, good luck getting insurance, because a lot of insurance companies won't cover them. And as long as we're talking insurance, 75% plus or minus of houses are insured by Prince Edward Island Mutual, PEI Mutual. However, you can use anybody that you want. The biggest challenge is when you're using a centrally located insurance company, they may have a hard time to come to terms with PEI living and things that are here, asking you questions like how far is the fire hydrant away when you live out in the middle of nowhere. Would you say that's correct?
Yes, I always tell my clients when they're looking for an insurance company, and we have other insurance companies, local insurance companies like Cooperators and Heinemann and Hickey, that provide home insurance. I find a lot of off-island clients want to stay with their bank's insurance companies. They'll have a division that provides property insurance. My only thing is what you were just talking about, Michael. I tell them to side on the side of caution there because to remove themselves of any liability should you need to file a claim, if an I is not dotted or a T is not crossed because you are the one responsible for answering questions such as the distance from a fire hydrant, perhaps the distance from the wall that your wood stove or something is. If there's something not correct, you may end up null and voiding your claim.
Well, what they're trying to do, and I hope not to come across too cynical, they're trying to get you to answer a survey with a multitude of questions. So you're going to answer those questions. You're going to certify that you've answered those questions correctly. And then up comes a claim, and they're going to go back to that survey and say, hey, you made a few mistakes, and because of that, we're not covering the claim.
Yeah, and I know many clients still use a third party, someone that's not on the island, I'm just going to call them, and they have no problems. There's no issues. However, I feel as a realtor on PEI, my responsibility is at least to educate them, and that's all this is.
Well, there's never going to be a problem getting the policy. The problem comes in when they have to cut a check.
I agree.
Insurance companies kind of shy away from that event. I think the best advice you could give somebody moving here is hire an insurance company that's going to go out and look at the property and do their own measurements and form their own conclusions and certify that information.
Correct.
Good.
On to electricity.
At one point, the whole island, if you can believe it or not, was powered by the plant. And the plant was is a diesel-fired ginormous generator like you've never seen. And it's still on the waterfront in Charlottetown. There's two giant, super tall smokestacks. One's 135 feet. I think the other one's 165 feet. That has been discontinued. I don't know if it even still runs. It was planned to be ripped down a couple years ago. It still stands. There's a video on my YouTube channel, actually. It's quite the monument. It's quite the interesting sight to see. Now, that's been discontinued. So essentially what PEI has today is we have a giant extension cord that reaches from the island to the mainland. Just kidding. Well, it is an extension cord. It doesn't have a giant yellow cord with a plug on the end, although comically it probably could have. So when you're in the Shelton area, which is on the south shore between Summerside and Charlottetown, closer to Summerside, you'll see a giant sign that says there's an underground buried cable. That is the power supply for the island. Now, they're talking about having a second line installed. I don't know where that is. You can Google it. But that is where our power comes from. And your power, with one exception, to my knowledge, is going to come from Maritime Electric. If you are in Summerside, you're going to get your power from the Summerside or the city of Summerside, with the exception of small neighborhoods that border on Summerside, like Kelly Drive and that sort of area. So when you're closing the deal on your house, make sure you order electricity from the proper people. Otherwise, you could move in and find out that you have no electricity. And touching on that, under 30 seconds, what do we need to do at the lawyer's office with respect to electricity to make sure when we move in, the lights are on?
Anywhere else, Maritime Electric, you just contact Maritime Electric and let them know. If it is the city of Summerside and that is where you're relocating to, you are typically your lawyer will be the one that is responsible to set up the services. However, you do have to contact them as well. And if you've never had services here, they're going to ask for a deposit.
And just make sure that that's actually done, because there's been cases where people move in, and invariably it's always a Friday night, never a Monday morning when this happens. So they're without electricity all weekend because a connection order hasn't been placed by the law firm, or they've placed it or tried to place it with Maritime Electric where it's under the city of Summerside. On to the next most important thing. We've heated the house. We've got electricity.
It's insured.
It's insured. We need internet access. Thankfully, the PEI government, along with Bell Canada, is on a mission to get high-speed fiber optic cable to each and every home on the island. We're certainly nowhere near 100% on that. So alternatively, if you can't get fiber, which in my opinion is the best, we also have cable, which has a fiber backbone and cable to the house, is my understanding. You also have a number of wireless systems that are privately owned that cover the island. Most of those suppliers cater to certain locales. They're not going to cover from one end of the island to the other for logistical reasons. And you have LTE. So Bell Mobility will give you a discount if you use high-speed internet through a cellular tower. They have the neat little box that plugs into your computer so you can have high-speed internet on your computing devices in the house. Of course, we have Elon Musk's satellite system. What is it? Starlink. And there's also a competitor to that. And there's also an older satellite supplier. Biggest thing about satellite suppliers is lag. They're a lot better now. I've heard great things about Starlink. I can't comment on the competitor, which I can't think of the name of, and the older system, which I can't think of the name of either.
Net.
Is what?
ExploreNet is.
ExploreNet. Used to be laggy. I don't know if they've improved since then. So those are your selections for internet. The island is very, very well covered with the Bell Mobility cellular backbone and secondarily with the Rogers backbone, which, of course, they both convert into all kinds of third parties like TELUS and whatever else.
No, we're pretty good. These are things, though, that if they have representation with a real estate professional, should be able to assist them with. Just know, too, that some areas on the island, if they're already too densely populated with, say, Bell services, they will not provide any further lines to homes. I've had problems where, we're maxed out for that area, which I didn't even think was an option, but I did run into that a few years ago.
Right. So what Patty is saying is if you're on a particular street, they may only allocate so many customers on that street due to hardware deficiencies or shortcomings or limitations. So make sure you have, especially if you're working from home, you've got a good internet access wherever you are. And obviously common sense would dictate your internet access in the cities. Summerside, Charlottetown, Stratford, Cornwall are going to be a lot better than out in, say, I don't know, Monticello or Cablehead East or somewhere out there. Next topic is going to be what?
So, driver's license and
Access PEI.
Yep. So, Access PEI is who looks after our licensing here. You would be contacting them. There are offices all across the island, and that is where we're supposed to, I believe it's within, is it 7 days of relocating here? It's been so long I've been here. That you are to go down to Access PEI, provide a piece of ID, information, a piece of mail is ideally what they'd like to confirm that you are here or your agreement of purchase and sale, and they'll be able to issue you a new driver's license. One thing with the driver's licenses here is they do not send you off notification when they're due to expire. So it is on you. I was actually just at the airport this morning dropping off my son, and there was a lady trying to get on a plane with Air Canada, and her driver's license expired 2 days ago. So there was a little bit of a situation. And I know in Ontario, we were always sent in ample time notification that your license is due. You are solely responsible for that here.
Right. And the other thing is your safety sticker on your license plate. They do not warn you about that either. Access PEI is basically going to be your touchdown point or your center information point for anything island government provincial services. Driver's licenses, building permits for houses, healthcare, social assistance, anything that is government mandated, provided for.
Yeah.
So you need to become familiar with Access PEI. The tips that I can give you is some Access PEIs are much busier than others. So my trick is I usually go to that Access PEI. For instance, in Charlottetown, it would be West Royalty in the mall. Not many people are going there. They're usually going to the one down on the waterfront on Riverside Drive. And I also find that Access PEI is crazy busy towards the beginning of the month or the end of the month. So usually wait a week, you'll be the only one in line, whereas prior there too, you'd probably be amongst 50 other people waiting. So Access PEI is your point of getting all your stuff converted over. They also handle property taxes as well. Many of these services are also online. If anything, I would give credit to PEI for having excellent web services and internet access to all of this stuff.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, and then your healthcare. So as soon as you move to PEI, what you need to do is register yourself on the waiting list for a medical doctor. Now, it will probably take a couple years. However, as long as your name is on the list, join the thousands of others waiting.
And would you say a couple years is accurate?
I would say at least a couple years.
I would say you're going to be waiting a long time, and hopefully that's going to change because we have a new CEO of the healthcare system, which is just supposed to change things miraculously, hopefully in short term, so that waiting list will be reduced. And we'll bring more doctors to the island to provide those services. We're up to 15.
Yeah, and I think we've covered all the main things that you need to know. If you are looking to relocate to Prince Edward Island, ask your realtor for advice and make sure that you get all your services and systems and you're well educated and informed.
Or you can just shoot us a text or an email and we'll provide that information to you. 100%. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. My vehicle's going to shut down here, so we need to disconnect quickly.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.